Hey everyone, welcome back to 12 Days of Autumn with Daisy and Christy. We're on to day 4, which is all about pumpkins. And I'm going to use a stock photo from Google to create my pumpkin, which is a very non-traditional pumpkin. I'm going to use the very first pattern paper you saw, which was the pink, and the backside of it is the wood grain. That is a Teresa Collins paper from like 2014. It's quite old. And I'm also going to find in my lovely Halloween stash right here a diagonal kind of gray stripe that just all kind of went together. And I really love the way it all turns out. Now, when it comes to my pumpkin, so everyone remember I don't have a silhouette, so this is how I do things. I just trace them, cut them out, do my thing. But even if I had, I guess I could have, I don't know. I'm sure a silhouette's faster for the cutting part of it, but I stitched it too. And you can't use a silhouette to get a stitch, so it still would have taken me forever. But I am going to go ahead and use my paper piercer. And I'm going to hand stitch with some white embroidery thread just around each little piece of the pumpkin. And it brings a really nice dimension and texture to the pumpkin. And I really, really love the way it turns out. It does, however, take me basically a whole day of my scrapping time. So when I say stuff like that, just remember, I don't scrap. I never ever finish a layout in one sitting ever. I don't think that has ever happened. It normally takes me a few sittings, normally about 2 to 3 days to finish a layout because I go back to it. So I do things in like 10-minute spurts almost. Like I get to do one thing and then I go back to being in mom mode and cleaning mode and whatever, and then I come back and I do some more, and so I could be scrapping technically for an hour in a day, but it's been in 6 different spurts of 10 minutes. So it does take me a little while. Whereas, like I said, this pumpkin took me one whole day. So it probably took me an hour, maybe a little longer, to stitch the pumpkin and get it ready. So the next day I come back and I love the way this pumpkin turns out. I think it is just so neat, and the layers that I was able to build with it with the stitching, because then it adds some dimension to it. I love it. I absolutely love the way this turns out. And it's really neat. So you're going to see, I was originally thinking about stitching with black, but I'm going to go and change my mind and do white. I wanted a little bit more of a subtle, you know that word, subtle look to it. And so white was going to, in the end, be my choice there. And there you can see, I'm just kind of showing you how I go about it. And at this point, I was still debating which I was going to use for my very last piece there. I had a few different options. I could have gone into a more Halloween traditional color scheme, or which I did do is I went ahead and did that wood grain one, which made it so I could have done a couple things. I could have used a photo of Nora because I'm using pink, and it could have been a very girly layout. Or I could do what I actually end up doing, which is I took our carving pumpkins from last year, all the photos from that, and I'm using that to, my photos for that to document with this pumpkin. Sorry if you can hear a difference in my tone. I was just checking on my daughter. She was being a little too quiet. And I'm just showing you how I go about layering it all. I'm going to cut the stem in the same wood grain, and I'm going to then think about my photos, about where they're going to go. And there's a few different options I could have done with this as well. I could have taken my photos. Some of them were smaller. I think I printed them at 3x4. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. So I could have lined them up on one side, or there's a bunch. I could have put them down at the bottom and the pumpkin on top of my photos. Whole bunch of different options that I really could have gone with in order to make this all work. And what I decided that was going to work best is to go ahead and actually use the pumpkin to be the host of my actual photos. So to add a little bit more, again, I'm working on textures and layers. I'm going to back it with the same diagonal gray, and then I'm going to put behind my pumpkin a doily. This is the really large doilies you can get. And I loved how doing that, it just, again, one more layer to something, because this is going to be quite a simple layout. And there you can see my photos, and I I also was thinking if I put my photos into the pumpkin, because my photos are square, obviously, they don't have rounded edges, they're gonna look a little funny. So I felt like adding a few different frames would help kind of give it a softer touch to it. And so I went ahead and pulled out just some frames that I got. These came from Amber, who is a local scrapbooking friend of mine that we've kind of met through online, and we've talked a little bit, and her layouts are beautiful, and our kids are both kind of the same. She has 2 little girls, and they're kind of the same age as my 2, and so it's been fun watching how we each document different things. But she dropped by a bunch of goodies for me one day, and these frames came from her. And she gave me so many amazing products to play with that are like a little bit older, but like were my favorite things. So I was like going through them freaking out, and I'm going to use some of these frames to help give me that softer look that I'm going for. And then my title is super boring because, again, I want the focus to be on the pumpkin and all of that. And so I'm just going to call it Carving Fun. And then I'm going to go ahead and stitch around the outside. And as you can see, I also decided at the same time to use some of my Vicki Boutin Rose Gold and a stencil to add that last layer. So I just randomly placed it down and used my thing and just kind of swiped it. I swear I had recorded that, but it didn't save. So where it went in my recording world of videos, I don't know. But you've seen how people have done stencils before, so you're not really missing a bunch there. Put my doily back on, and now this layout is full of texture and prettiness, and I love it. I love it. I love it. And then the frames worked. I cut them off so that they could tuck into the pumpkin, and now all I have to figure out is how I'm going to decorate this thing and make all my final touches. I also have to cover up the word summer from the one frame, and the other frame, because I made it sideways, it's got a word that's going up, and it just looks funny. I don't really like it. So I'm going to cover that up as well. So you're going to see how I do that. I also wanted a little touch of something underneath the pumpkin. So I'm just going to go ahead and use 2 florals. These came from, I have this gigantic, it's not a gigantic bag, but I have this bag of just random autumn embellishments. And I think I got them from like last year, and they've just kind of been hanging out. And so I went through those and I found a few of these florals. So I'm just going to add 1 to each side. And that's exactly what I was wanting. Just something there to have it. And it works perfectly. So those are going to go there. I'm going to cover up the word summer with the word family. I was originally thinking of this really cool Love Much. It's the wrong color. It's not really going with the vibe that I'm trying to give off there. And then to cover up the other one, you can see here I'm trying to do a bunch of different things, but what ends up happening is I use a little kind of tag that I'm going to put the date on, and then I use I'm pretty sure it was originally a paper clip, but I'm going to use that, and it says fall. And then in the very end photo, I was still missing something. So I add an acorn to that to kind of just round off that little frame there. And then I add 3 hearts to the very top on the upper left and 3 hearts on the upper bottom, lower bottom, lower bottom. And that just gave me that finishing touch that I wanted, along with the year in some gold by the title, and it just kind of tied everything in and made me happy and feel like it was complete. So I absolutely love the way this layout turned out. It was really fun. Did take me quite a while to do it. There's a look at my final layout. Please head on over to Daisy's channel, and we'll see you back tomorrow with day number 5. Bye.